A suspicious freighter off the coast of Estonia. Detected by the Sakala, a vessel of the Estonian Navy on patrol in the Baltic Sea. As we approach the freighter, the soldiers' suspicions are confirmed. This is no ordinary ship, but a Russian oil tanker flying a false flag, possibly part of Putin's so-called shadow fleet. As the Sakala draws closer, the crew checks for any suspicious activity, whether the ship suddenly slows down, makes a sudden turn, or refuses to communicate. Missions like this have become routine for Captain Kans and his crew.
Yesterday we saw something hanging from an anchor chain from one cargo vessel. So we went closer, we contacted the vessel, and we checked. Actually, it wasn't anything else, but it was just a fire hose tangled in the anchor chain.
In times of war, the Sakala is a minesweeper, specialized for the finding and disarming of sea mines. Its current mission, however, is patrolling the Gulf of Finland for NATO, together with 2 other Estonian warships. It's the alliance's response to suspected acts of sabotage, which have increased in the Baltic Sea in recent months. Ships from the Russian Shadow Fleet are among those being investigated. The shadowy tankers have been cruising local fishing grounds for 3 years now. Heiko Heitur is a passionate local fisherman. He supplies restaurants here in Pihlaspea, northern Estonia, with mackerel, salmon, trout, and perch. The situation in the Baltic Sea is a real worry.
There are lots of these big ships in the sea. They're standing around waiting to sail on to Russia. We have no choice but to come to terms with the situation and to deal with the danger posed by the ships.
Ships that are often old and poorly insured. Western authorities believe Moscow is using them to evade sanctions and as a tool of hybrid warfare against the West. A shipwreck dumping thousands of tons of oil into the sea would have dramatic environmental consequences. Heiko Heitur, retrieving today's catch, knows this better than most.
If something were to happen, the fishing would be over. Pollution can spread quite quickly. That's the biggest danger, I think.
NATO's increased presence in the Baltic Sea is intended to provide security. But many Estonians are not only worried about Moscow. Following Donald Trump's recent statements, they fear a U.S. withdrawal from NATO and that American soldiers might soon be sent home. Estonian President Alar Karis doesn't see this happening anytime soon. Despite that, he is overseeing a huge increase in defense spending to 5% of GDP, a record among NATO countries.
You have to realize the whole Europe is next to Russia, so we all border Russia. So it's not only Estonia, Finland and some other countries, it's a whole Europe. So if something is going to happen, I hope not, so the whole Europe is in trouble.
Meanwhile, back in the Baltic Sea, the Sakala is engaged in a training exercise with a Finnish warship. Both Finland and Sweden have now joined NATO in response to Putin's attack on Ukraine and the threat to the rest of Europe.
Though we don't feel the war directly at the moment, we know what's causing it and the presence of these ships at sea. Unfortunately, there is not much we can do except look at the sea and hope for the best.
One piece of good news: the number of suspicious vessels in the Baltic is said to have plateaued since NATO increased its presence there. It offers a bit of comfort to people who, like Heiko Heitur, call this Baltic Sea coast their home.